The runway vault, he swore, was under maintenance. The calendar square arrived at 6:04 p.m., as neat as a gate assignment. Airfield Foundation Gala, Skyport Terminal, late. 2 minutes later, Ezra texted, "Don't wait up. Ops wants me to peek at a power flicker in the runway light vault after the speeches. Proud of me." Read, he spends the heart when the rest of the sentence is asking for diplomatic immunity. I turned the pasta water to the kind of simmer that calls itself maturity and looked out our window over the rail spur toward the airport. At dusk, the terminal turns theatrical, glass ribs glowing, jetways lit like outstretched arms that learned manners. The square on my phone pulsed once and then behaved. I rinsed an already clean spoon because sometimes unnecessary is the only honest verb available. At 6:26, my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize and a message that recognized me anyway. If the gala's in departures, why did he just badge the perimeter door and head down to Vault C? Service Road by the East Blast fence. Reader hates witnesses, cover it and pull. I can stall the sweep 2 minutes. Signed with a single letter, J, as if the alphabet had leaned on a field light and promised not to strobe. Jace runs nights for airfield ops with the calm of a man who can hear electricity change its mind. He and Ezra trade competence in a dialect of amperage and donor moods. He and I have shared 2 cigarettes by a pump house that pretends it's a chapel. Once we laughed hard enough a security dome tilted as if it wanted to learn timing. We have not touched. I remember not touching more clearly than most men remember vows. "Why tell me?" I wrote. "Because your calendar is polite and my badge logs aren't," he sent back. Because he looked up before he swiped. People only look up there when they want oxygen. Because maintenance is keep out the way champagne is hydration. The service road wore wind like a uniform. The blast fence hummed at a key that makes skin attend. I palmed the reader's sulking red eye. The bolt remembered civics and released. Inside, the concrete stairs breathed underground weather. A blue-painted corridor announced Vault C in letters that didn't need applause. The smell was copper, transformer oil, and old decisions. The vault sits like a steel chapel beneath the runway lights, their faith rooted through cabinets the color of unremarkable. Racks of regulators blink polite greens. Bus bars shine with the vanity of clean metal. In the middle aisle, jacket off and shirt open, one button past credible, tie folded into his pocket like a plausible denial, stood Ezra. Opposite him, 2 fingers resting on a panel as if electricity billed him monthly, was Dane Rook, developer, board vice chair, a roomer with a private jet and a smile trained by mirrors. Dane's other hand hovered near Ezra's wrist without landing, because proximity photographs better than contact when your brand buys safety and invoices discretion. "Under maintenance looks social," I said. Ezra turned. For a beat, truth used his face like glass before it reflects. Then the public version arrived, posture, light, breath on script. "Cal," he said, "I how did." "Jace prefers nouns," I said. "I prefer doors." Dane's smile had been taught to pronounce stewardship. "We were reviewing a voltage sag," he said. "Patrons like to feel the runway is unafraid of the dark." "I prefer lights that don't need an audience," I said. Ezra took 1 step toward me and let the epoxy floor keep the second. "We were listening for a harmonic," he said. He wanted to hear the room without toasts. "Sound is persuasive," Dane said, lifting both hands like tasteful parentheses. 2 minutes. The sweep is punctual, my car is opinionated. He drifted toward a mimic panel where little lamps pretended to be a whole airfield. As he passed, 2 fingers tapped Ezra's shoulder, punctuation, not possession. Somewhere a relay clicked like a patient metronome. Ezra watched me the way men watch weather when they hope lightning has better hobbies. "I was going to text you," he said, lower now, using the register he keeps for mornings and the soft under my jaw. "After. I wanted to know I could leave this room without letting it rename me." "You wanted to be caught," I said. "Not punished, caught." He exhaled. A regulator drew the breath as if it could help. "Yes." There is a voltage at which grammar resigns. I crossed the aisle and put my mouth on his because steel deserves honesty and light deserves witnesses. He kissed back with the relief of a man who has been paying interest on restraint, compounded nightly by applause and the hum of things that cannot rest. He tasted like Gala bourbon and air that has met ozone, a little sweet, a little sharp. My thumb found the hinge of his jaw and pressed. He made the small, involuntary sound I keep receipts for. His palm slid under my shirt and settled flat between my shoulder blades like a promise that refuses notarization. We didn't undress. The vault charges extra and cameras learn quickly. He broke the kiss first because he knows the exact second heat applies for narrative. He set his forehead against mine, 2 cabinets down, a fan changed pitch and decided to keep working. "I didn't kiss him," he said. "I wanted to want to, I texted Jace." "You did," I said. "He prefers oxygen to salvage." From the mimic panel, Dane tilted his head with the tidy curiosity of a man who assumes circuits appreciate him. He didn't approach. The vault held its breath like a professional. "Come home," Ezra said. "After I thank the person who hears bearings from across a fence," I said. Jace waited by the stairwell, lanyard looped over 2 fingers, the calm that convinces machines to adopt boundaries. He didn't smile. He also didn't make mercy expensive. "Sweep hits the vault in 90, he said. "If you don't want to explain your lives to a flashlight that recognizes your shoes, take the cable trench to the access ladder, pop into the Dacer bay, then out by the tug shed. The shed cam believes every tow bar is a tow bar." "You sent the message," I said. "I opened a door," he said. "You two remembered how to walk." The cable trench smelled like diligent dust. The ladder sighed us upward into a room where de-icing rigs napped like obedient dinosaurs. The tug shed door gave us to night. Night, for its part, decided not to notice. We took sidewalks over concourses because concourses write captions. On the taxiway a plane rolled into alignment, its landing lights steady as forgiveness. At home, the pasta forgave me for confusing patience with character. We ate standing, like mammals who know where the bowls live. He told me Dane had been sculpting a compliment into a proposition for 3 weeks, and he had helped because selection feels like love when usefulness empties your pockets. I told him Jace had texted because some people choose air over alibi. He didn't ask whether Jace and I had ever been a worse idea. I didn't say how a blue pilot light turns Jace's mouth into punctuation that finally knows its job. We didn't fight. There wasn't theater left to sell. Later, in bed, we left a sliver of cool like a reservation and then let it surrender because the night had already billed us for restraint. He kissed me with the steadiness I trust more than policy. I put my mouth where his jaw goes humble and told it a morning. It was heat without spectacle. The building minded its radiators. Across the tracks, the terminal practiced forgetting names and we encouraged it. Morning behaved. Coffee made its case. Sunlight put patient rectangles on the table like boarding passes that decided to be kind. The calendar square for tonight stayed blank, which in this city is the kink we can afford. Ezra tied a tie over a throat I intend to retire with patience and kissed me like the door already knew our names. He left to explain continuity of operations to a breakfast that confuses redundancy with virtue. At 9:12 a text arrived from a number saved as one letter. No vault cam saw anything but enclosures. I looped a load bank test for 20. Consider it training. Jay, I sent, you're very proud of your training. He replied, I'm proud of your exit. No punctuation correct. By noon, a travel blog posted a photo of Dane beside a windowed jetway with a caption about stewardship and lighting the city's pathways. I scrolled past. It wasn't our room. At 1:23, Ezra sent a picture of our kitchen plant basking in a reasonable square of sun. Room exists, he wrote. The week pretended to be a flight schedule you could trust. Dane sent a revised pledge with fewer adjectives and more commas. Ezra read to the part where the commas began to behave like a harness and set it face down. He pressed his forehead to my temple for a count of 7 and let air return to its job. 2 nights later, the airport hosted Night on the Field. Honest wristbands, real families, kids learning the difference between a blue edge light and a red sign that expects obedience. We went together, because sometimes the correct grammar is plural. Jace nodded once from a service gate like an usher who had already chosen a side. Dane shook Ezra's hand while a photographer tried to teach tarmac to glow. A reporter asked about legacy. Ezra pointed to a tech kneeling to show a teenager how to check a connector without scolding the dust and said, "Legacy is what keeps rooms gentle." And the reporter wrote it down like she'd earned a truth. On the walk home, we cut along the fence where planes draw their important straight lines. Ezra slid 2 fingers into my back pocket in the way that says not mine but here, and the knight did the decent thing and looked away. We burned the garlic bread and ate it anyway. At the bedroom door, he kissed me the way good sentences land, without ornament, unavoidable. I answered as if verbs were the last honest currency. It did not stay tidy. It never does here. An anonymous account posted a grainy still from a stairwell cam, 2 silhouettes near a cabinet door, one hand too near to be polite. The caption invented entanglement, the comments rented outrage and billed by the breath. I set my phone face down beside the plant and watched the plant win. Ezra texted a different image. The field shop at noon, Jace showing a teen volunteer how to reset a lamp while a voltage graph confessed contentment. Our version works for a living, he wrote. Sunday arrived with wind that had read the manual. Jace texted, "Field's quiet. Want a stool where nobody sells you a seat?" We went. He poured us paper cups of coffee that tasted like competence and showed us which breaker lies first, why you never trust a door that apologizes, and the small change in hum that means a transformer is about to tell the truth. He didn't flirt with anything, not even the truth. He stood with his hands in his jacket pockets and told us a joke about rich men who think glide slope is a metaphor. I liked him better for refusing to be necessary when he didn't need to be. Midweek, the foundation staged a press moment to announce apprenticeships for field electricians. Ezra spoke first, about bolts and volunteers and the joy of maintenance, the only speech that ages correctly. Dane promised to help the city meet its arrivals on time, a sentence that managed to spend nothing and still collect applause. After, he shook Ezra's hand and then looked at me with the careful respect of a man evaluating whether he cannot purchase. "You're both very good at exits," he said. "Practice," I said. He laughed because it was the only honest thing left on his card. A columnist with an adjective habit implied Ezra's access came courtesy of private tour. The piece included a photo of cabinets that could have been any cabinets and a paragraph that could have been any rumor. The comments did their choreography. I took the plant to the sink and let water talk to its roots like a promise we could keep. That night, we turned our phones face down and cooked like people who still believe heat tells the truth. On a wet Thursday, Jace sent a single word, weather, and we met him by the infield ditch where rain learns manners. He showed us which culvert floods first, where to stand when lightning auditions beside the approach lights, and how to hear the faint hesitation that means an entire string will miss its cue without kindness. He didn't ask about the photo. We didn't say his name out loud. 3 people wide beneath the airport's old sky, we let the storm remove adjectives we didn't need. Life kept refusing to be purchased. Dane kept sending commas that wanted homes. Ezra kept returning them with better ones. The plant kept inventing a shade of green that turns vanity domestic. We kept our calendar squares blank on purpose because blanks are the only promises rooms respect. Sometimes, after midnight, we walk the perimeter road and watch a late arrival float down the center line, white lights steady, red lights honest, the runway a sentence that has finally learned how to land. From out here you can't see the vault or the quiet, decent posture of a man who teaches heavy things to be gentle. You only see a disciplined glow pretending not to belong to anyone. That's as it should be. We circle the fence and go home without letting the building perform at us. He takes my wrist like a man reteaching himself the grammar of doors. I think about the vault and the 2 minutes that were enough, about how some rooms try to own you and others teach you how to leave correctly. Sometimes I think about Dane paused by the mimic panel like a man who wants to buy air and discovering it doesn't invoice. Sometimes I think about Jace's line, "I opened a door," and how it's the only biography I want for this version of us. Tonight's square is empty. We're leaving it that way. Let the airport keep its speeches and the city its applause. We have the tug shed, a plant we refuse to let die, and the quiet grammar of a decision that knows where it belongs. Not in the rumor, not in the photo, but in the mouth that learned to say come home and mean it. If we get caught again, let it be by each other. The rest of the world can rehearse punctuality. We'll be in the room that doesn't need it, counting breaths until they sound like a well-behaved hum and a morning we can afford, and calling that enough.